First of all, thank you for coming to the interview. I have a few questions. The first question, what should be at the core of a sound national security strategy?
Well, to my opinion, national security strategy is not something in general. It is something specifically that relates to the current environment. So, generally speaking, it is highly connected with the national interests. And for Israel, for example, the main issue is to avoid a war, to deter the enemies from going into the war. And if war happens, the national security strategy should help to achieve decisive victory, to win the war.
Okay, any advice for Romania or opinion about Romania national strategy? What should be at the core of our strategy?
Well, I'm not familiar with since I think that national security strategy is very specific, I'm not familiar with the Romanian environment. But I think that in general, the national security strategy should cope with the new threats in the cyber dimension, threats in the field of terrorism, lone wolves, things that are happening now, and the national security strategy should help Romania to cope with those threats.
Okay, thank you. The second question, what is the role of the military power of a state in an era of hybrid warfare capabilities and transnational security issues?
So the military should first deter the enemies from attacking the states or from going into war. But if war happens, then the military should aim to win the war. Now, the problem is that in fighting hybrid threats, it's an interesting question, what is a victory? So for Israel, the main threats are coming from hybrid organizations like Hezbollah and Hamas. And if going to war, the military should first expose the enemy because they are hiding themselves in civilian population, civilian neighborhood, civilian building. So first to expose by intelligence, exposing the enemy, and then attacking the enemy in order to stop firing rockets and missiles against the state of Israel.
Okay. The third question, is Romania vulnerable to cyber attacks, especially during elections period?
Yes, I believe that every state is vulnerable to cyber attacks and to what is currently referred to as foreign intervene or interference in elections.
Yep.
And sometimes it's aimed to influence the outcome of the elections, to influence who will win the elections. But sometimes foreign actors are using the sensitive time during the election to influence in other fields, because during election time everything is tense, the nerves are exposed, the splits are that the society is very polarized, and it's a wonderful time for the attacker to try to influence. So I think every state is vulnerable because the digital space, we don't really understand the digital space well enough in order to cope with this kind of attacks.
Okay, and for the last question about the role of intelligence, what is the role of intelligence in the current national security architectures, and how can intelligence oversight be effective in turbulent societies we live in today?
Well, to my opinion, the role of intelligence is to help decision makers think about the present and the future. And I think that you cannot predict the future because the future is very dynamic, but you can help them think about the future and to prepare themselves. So intelligence should prepare decision makers to prepare the nation and the military for the future. The classic mission of intelligence is early warning. But for now, early warning is challenged by many threats. And I think intelligence are shifting from early warning to helping operations, to have actionable insights that will help the operations.